What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's daily market recap. In today's episode, I'm going to break down all of my trades from the morning. I'm sitting right now in the green, up over $11,000, and I traded 5 different stocks. I'm red on 2 of them. So, today accuracy was a little bit lower, and in fact, it's the smallest green day I've had since last Wednesday. Last Wednesday was also a smaller green day. So yesterday I was up 50,000, the day before I was up 60,000, now today only 11,000. What's going on? The problem today was that we didn't have any stocks that had fresh breaking news where the news was really hot. And so without that catalyst, we didn't get any 200, 300% short squeezes this morning. All right, well, I can't really complain. I've been having a really good week and a really great month, but today's definitely a little bit of a slower day. So then what did I trade? Well, I ended up trading continuation. Continuation is when you have a stock that was really strong in the previous session and it continues that momentum into the next day. However, typically continuation can be a little bit more difficult because usually on day one, when the news first comes out, that's when you get the cleanest moves. That's when you have the most volume. That's when you get this really nice action, more predictable patterns. As you get into day two, what typically happens is the stock starts to get a little choppier. The element of surprise is sort of gone. Usually the volume goes down a little bit. Now today, that's a little bit of an exception. So if we jump onto the chart, let's look at SYTA, for instance. This is one of the stocks that has been really impressive. It initially had news like a week ago, popped up, sold off, and then has this slow rally back up. But on this slow rally back up, notice how the volume is going higher each day. That was pretty impressive. So this was giving us nice continuation from day to day. So if we look at this on the 5-minute chart, you'll see how each day it just kind of continued moving higher. However, when it sort of began this move and this rally down here, there wasn't a fresh catalyst. It was just sort of bouncing off the low. And then it kind of just kept going a little higher and a little higher. And then next thing you know, a little higher until they put out news. What's the news? They're going to sell more shares. And so it's very common that when we get that catalyst, what happens to the price? The price drops. The company selling more shares on the market is going to dilute all the existing shareholders. And therefore, if you currently have 1 million shares out there and the value of the stock is $9 and you sell another 1 million shares, then in theory, you're doubling the supply. Shouldn't the price go down in half to reflect that sort of, increased, the market cap doesn't double just because they sell more shares. So you would think the price would go down. And that's typically what happens. And in fact, this was to sell, I think it was 11 million shares, which substantially increases the number of shares outstanding. So anyways, SYTA is coming down a little bit. I did get a trade on it. And I guess I'll just show you that trade. So the 5 stocks I traded today, you can see I'm red on 2 of them, and then I'm green on 3. And I don't have any huge winners today, up $11,702. The problem today just was that we didn't have any really good catalysts. So SYTA was a continuation setup, and I took this trade here on the break of VWAP right there. And I was able to make $1,300 with a bigger position, and I was looking for that squeeze up to 7 and hoping maybe it would retest this level here. Sometimes we do see that even in spite of a news headline that drops it. It was basing out, it seemed like it was holding, and so I thought I would, take a stab at it. Obviously, that didn't work out super well. Now, the second stock that had continuation today was EDBL, Edible Garden Incorporated. All right, so this stock, honestly, I wasn't that excited about it yesterday. I've traded it before. I never have felt like I've really done well on it. It's always been a little choppy. It's not the sector that we typically do well on. It's not a biotech stock. It's not a Chinese company. It's not a foreign company. It's just just kind of doesn't fit the profile of something I really would typically do well on. The float is low, 1.3 million shares. And in any case, yesterday, it traded on 90 million shares of volume, as it had this really nice move. And then this morning, it's continuing higher. So far today, we have about 65 million shares of volume. And I'd say there's a really good chance we'll have higher volume today, by the end of the day, than we had yesterday. So higher volume on day 2 is not always what we expect. However, I think there's a reason for it. Today, I think a lot of traders, including myself, were trading this sort of for lack of anything else. This was, sort of adjusted for the curve, the best of what was out there today. Now, on a day where we had fresh news on something else, this one I might have taken a couple trades on and then totally left it alone. And most traders would have done the same, and the volume would have been lower on the day in total. But because nothing else came out with news, people have just kind of kept trading this, right? It's volatile, it is moving, and so for lack of anything else, it's like if I want to make 10 cents a share, 2,000 shares and make my $200 daily goal, this is certainly a stock to consider because it's volatile. So anyways, it did drop right here. And there was some news that came out, so it drops, and then it has this rally back up. And I was kind of watching this because I thought if it could break through that level, and we could break through 7, that would be really nice. But it wasn't able to do that. So where did I trade this one? Well, at 7 a.m., I did not buy it right here. This is the almost exact setup that I took yesterday on SYTA. And on SYTA yesterday, on that setup, I made $20,000. So that was right here yesterday on SYTA. It was day 2 or 3 of continuation, took that break of VWAP setup, made $20,000 on that squeeze from 5 to 7. But EDBL felt a little different. So what was different about EDBL? It was already a little more crowded pre-market. When I pulled up the level 2 and was looking at the level 2, it felt like it was very thick, a lot of buyers and a lot of sellers, a lot of big orders. So it felt sort of congested, like there was already this battle going on. And I thought, well, geez, I don't know if that's, if we've already got a tug of war going on here, it might not make a big move. So that threw me off a little bit. The fact that it still was sort of not the right sector still had me a little not sure. And then I also woke up this morning with a headache. And I don't know if it's allergies or what it is, but I was kind of like, I don't feel great this morning. So I was like, well, I don't know, let's just take it a little easy. So since I already didn't love EDBL, and I just was feeling a little off my game, I was like, I don't know, I'm just going to leave this alone. So it ends up popping up right here at 7 a.m. So I'm watching it and it goes without me. And I'm like, well, okay, but double top 614, right? And it double tops perfectly. Then it drops down and I was like, well, but if it breaks 614, we're going to have ascending resistance like right here. So I don't think I should take that trade. So I don't. It ends up breaking it anyways. All right, so it pops up to here, pulls back, dips down, and then right here, we get an inverted head and shoulders pattern. And so I ended up taking that trade right there on the break, and I was hoping that we would break through this high. We didn't, but that was enough for me to make $8,000. So that was a nice trade. That was from about 614, 615, all the way up to a high of, what was this, like 680. So, and I actually added up here at 675, 680, because I was like, all right, here we go. I think this is going to squeeze. And I had to get out of that. So I was up over 10,000 on it, but anyway. So, but then it broke back down and then it was back below this level. So I was like, no, all right, well, I can't trade it here. Sideways, sideways. And then that news of exercising warrants, which is going to be selling more shares on the market. So I was like, all right, that's no good. Oh, drag that back up. All right, so that was EDBL, and we already looked at SYTA. Now, ASST is also continuation. ASST had a big move earlier in the month, pulls back, lighter volume, and is kind of rallying back up. Today, it made a new high versus its high here. What's interesting is on this day where it peaked, we had 300 million shares of 200 million shares of volume on this day here, and a little less on this day. Today, the volume is only 26 million shares. And yet we're at new highs. You would think there would be more buying, except that there's not a catalyst. And the price is higher. And maybe today there are some other stocks that are a little more interesting. And this is one that I really struggled with. So here's how I traded it. It hits my scanners. So by the way, this is the software that I'm using every single day. And you guys who are members at Warrior Trading or Warrior Pro members, you have access to the exact same tools that I'm using. So this is Day Trade Dash. All right, now those of you guys who haven't already checked out our Memorial Day sales, coupon codes are on the website, so you could sign up and become a Warrior Pro member with a 7-day money-back guarantee and use this software just the way I am. So ASST hits my high day momentum scanner right here. So it hits the scanner, I see the alert, and I'm already familiar with the stock because we've been talking about it. So as it pops up right here, it does a micro pullback right under 9. And so I ended up buying right there for the breakthrough 9 and adding as it squeezes up. Does a micro pullback right here, and I added for the next level up. And then right here, I added for the breakthrough 10, and it drops. And I went red on the stock. I went from green to red on it. I was down $1,000. It's not the end of the world, but I gave back everything I made because I sized up too heavily for the break of 10. Drops down, comes back up. I try to get back in for the break of 10. It doesn't go. I lose on it a second time. Now I'm down 1,500 on it. It drops down, pops up, drops down, and then it comes up here and rips through 10. And I missed it. That's very annoying. So then it pulls back again here, pops up, dips down, pops up, dips down. And when it popped up right here, I said, I'm not going to miss that one. So I jumped in right there, and I did make back the profit that I'd lost. And now I'm green on it by $2,176. So that's good. I mean, can't complain, but this was not clean. It was very choppy. It was very thickly traded, very heavy, a lot of resistance, a lot of selling. And again, I would attribute it to the fact that there was really no fresh catalyst. So on the one hand, and then by the way, SGMA, I jumped in that as it spiked up here, but then realized, oh, it's a buyout. So I ended up getting in and getting out and losing 4 cents a share on 2,000 shares, $80. ZKIN, this one I jumped in and lost on. Crypto Catalyst, that catalyst is just not working right now. So I jumped in it before I saw what the news was, though. That was the problem. It was 8:30. I saw the stock spiking up, and I jumped on it quickly because I thought, okay, this thing's moving. And then I saw the news, and I was like, oh boy. That was a mistake. So in a hot market, I might jump first and then see the news after. And this was an example where that did not pay off. But not that it was a big loss either. So, in EDBL, I would say this one does still have potential. It's still worth keeping an eye on, but you've got pretty well-established resistance trend line there. So I would just be cautious with it. And, for me, I just feel like if there was a day to dig deep and trade longer, it'd be a day where I'm up $50,000. And that's not today. GPUS, I don't know what to say. This thing, it's a nice move. I'm impressed with it. Halted once, popped up, pulled back, going a little higher. There's no news. So the total volume on the day, 12 million shares. Looking at the level 2, your halt level's 903. It's kind of chasing these halt levels with some topping tails. I just don't know. I don't know. I just feel like I'm having a little bit of a hard time getting dialed in on anything. And certainly if I traded it up here, that wouldn't work. And this morning it popped up here and reversed really hard. So, when it popped up initially, it was like, come on, what do we expect from this? So this is the one that ends up, going, of course, and now halting a second time. But note that it's an Amex listed stock. So while it's halted, you cannot see any resumption prices. So you're kind of blind as to where it will resume. Its previous high was $10. So like ASST, is this going to break that level, that previous high, which in this case was 9, and give us more momentum? But based on the way ASST traded, it makes me feel like I have even lower expectations for GPUS. But maybe that's, going to be shorts that feel the same way and then get caught off guard, and then it does make a big move. I don't know. In any case, I'm going to be grateful for what I've got. I may be leaving some money on the table, but I think I'm probably walking away with some good profit in my pocket, and I'm avoiding giving back profit to the market on a day where I really don't have a very big cushion. So right now I'm sitting at my best month of the year, over $500,000 just in the last 3.5 weeks. I'm grateful. And so today, 11,000, it's not a big green day, but you know what? All of these days stack up. The smaller days, this is just me kind of battening down the hatches, making a little progress, and then waiting for that next big move so I can size up. So that's what I'm waiting for. And I'll be back at it first thing tomorrow morning. So for those of you guys who haven't already checked out the Memorial Day sales, make sure you come over to the website. You can check it out. If you get value out of these episodes, I hope you hit the thumbs up. I hope you're subscribed to the channel, and I'll put a couple links to episodes you might enjoy right here and right here. And as always, I want to remind you that trading is risky. My results aren't typical, so please manage your risk, take it slow, and always practice in a simulator before putting real money on the line. I'll see you guys live streaming bright and early tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard.